Welcome back to Outside the Round Pen, Episode 6, Season 2. Last week, if you joined us, we were talking about the parallels between the way that the Lord's Word prepares us for walking into something unexpected or unfamiliar and the trailering of Josie. And this week, we're going to be talking about something similar where a situation might be in a familiar environment, but the expectation or conversation changes. So the location stays the same, but we're going to have a different conversation today. She is going to be asked to do something that she is unfamiliar with in action, but not in location. And that is where we are going to work on jumping at liberty, which for those of you that are not familiar, liberty just means offline. So that's where there are no ropes or anything physical connecting her to me as her instructor, if you will. And then she's just going to be jumping over some barrels on the ground, which I am almost 100% sure she has never done before. So the conversation is changing, but the whole premise is exactly the same. It's if she can trust me. But the reason I'm having her do it is not because she knows that she's capable of it, but because I know she is. And the parallel is where the Lord invites us into something because he knows what we're capable of, what he's placed inside of us, and not what we know we're capable of. So go ahead and like this video, leave a comment below if you'd like to, and make sure that you are subscribed so you don't miss any future videos. And without further ado, let's get started. Welcome to Outside the Round Pen, where we step beyond the basics of training and into the deeper lessons horses teach us about faith, leadership, and partnership with Jesus. So like we talked about just a minute ago, the whole premise of last week's video was to present Josie with an invitation to step into something without knowing the full picture. And now she's going to be given the opportunity to, again, build off of that trust, but more with a direct ask, something that she, again, might not fully understand why we're doing it, but she does understand what I'm asking her to do. And it's a very visual example of what that process looks like. And as you work and massage the process through with the Lord, that becomes even more effortless. But again, not because she's starting out knowing or even thinking that she's remotely capable of doing something, but because I, as her leader, as her partner, know that she's capable of doing something. And so it's similar to the trailering in that sense, but nowhere near as scary, just very confusing for her to get why it's important for her to do this action, but it's not about the actual action itself. It's about the entire exercise of her learning to trust me and believing that what she has inside of her is so much greater than what she could ever expect. And I'm going to invite her to rise to the occasion in that way. Trust isn't passive, it's an active agreement in moving forward in faith. And that's something that we both get to practice in our day-to-day lives, as well as, in a job. If you've ever been in a moment, all of us have, but if you've ever been in a moment where you do not know what you're doing, or you are presented with something that you've never faced before, that is a moment where you get to choose whether or not you're going to shut down and completely run away, or you're going to face that head on and utilize what you already know and what you're capable of and allow yourself to rise to the occasion. Obviously, in the world, that's something that people talk about a lot. It just comes from within you and you just become something greater. But we know that that really comes from the Lord. And so he often invites us to grow and rise to the occasion in certain areas because he put something inside of us from the beginning of this world. When you were first only his thought, if you will, he knew what you were capable of. And he's now inviting you in these moments to face something because he knows that that's placed inside of you, not because you do. So this first clip I want you to see it's a very good and real moment from this session. It's just where we started. And so I introduced her to the barrels. She was very open about her opinion as to the fact that she was not pleased with the idea of doing anything other than stand next to them. And so the encouragement to start to take steps closer to it was met with a little bit of, wait a minute, you're asking me to do what? Why? And we reapproached and reapproached and reapproached and reapproached. And that's a whole process with a horse is I allow these horses to ask questions. And so you'll see that every time she turns in to face me, I'm going to welcome that because I'd rather have a healthy conversation and have her ask the questions why. I might not give her an answer that she likes, but she is welcome to ask those questions. And then from there, I'm starting to set boundaries and I'm not upset. My whole body posture, everything about what I'm doing and saying, both with my hands and what I'm inviting her into, as well as with the actual movement of my body, the tools that I'm utilizing. All of that comes into play with setting a boundary as to, nope, you're not going to cross this line. The barrels are where you're supposed to go over. If you want to continue in a circle this direction, that means you have to go over the barrels, which for her is very scary. So you can see this is a different angle, but it's the same idea. So I'm inviting her every single time she faces it. If you remember with the trailer, there's pressure from behind. It's only to encourage her to the moment where I release that pressure to encourage her as to that is what I'm asking her to do. And then I'm going to take all that pressure off when either she's giving me a try. So right here, you can see she just bumped the barrel with her legs and walked on through the little barrier. Awesome. Obviously, the goal is not for her to walk through the barrels. Clearly, that's not the point of the exercise. But I'm going to take that as a win because the point of the exercise is we have to get her to be comfortable with the barrels being there and her touching them. And so for her to, again, like the trailering, it took her nose and then her head and then her neck and then her shoulders and then her feet. And then her body follows all of that through. So it's phases. And so I want her to be comfortable with touching them. She can bump them. She can move them. They're not super big. Now, if she was moving quickly, it might, not feel comfortable, like when you hit your arm against a door or something like that, but it's not going to hurt her. They're relatively lightweight and they roll really easily. So I'm not concerned about an injury here. I just want her to recognize that she's capable of moving through this obstacle if she's just willing to think about it and not get frustrated with herself or get frustrated with me. You can see just multiple conversations happening about different pieces, and I'm inviting her to turn and look at me because I want her to ask more questions and not just assume she knows the next answer. But right now she just thinks, oh, that's all you're asking me to do, so I'm just going to keep doing the same thing. And that's not wrong. That is what I'm asking her to do. But what I'm not asking her to do is to continue in this momentum without checking in with me. And I know that for a lot of us, that's really easy to do with the Lord because you just assume that, well, this is what I've been doing and it's been working, so I'll just keep doing, same thing and we're fine until he corrects me. And maybe he's just waiting for you to pause long enough to ask, or not even to ask a question, but just pause long enough to hear him. And he might have a new directive for you. So that's building off of what he's done. So you can see this is just more of the same. Is more of the same. The biggest difference is now she's starting to go, this doesn't make any sense. I don't know if I'm loving this idea. I have a different idea. I think I'm going to try this again. But if you notice right there, she just decided, wait a minute, I don't like the feeling of bumping this thing. So what if I try jumping sort of with just one leg over it? Oh my gosh, I cleared it. Because I know from my angle and my perspective, those barrels, she can stand over the top of one of those and have no issue. She's got long enough legs. Her belly is up high enough. I'm not concerned about her getting hurt. She can move over the top of that thing. She does not think she can. So that's the first moment where she just decided, wait a minute, I bumped this before. What if I try, and there she did it again. What if I try putting both legs over it? That time, the first time it was just one, and it kind of was awkward and a little bit, uncoordinated, but that's not the point. The point is she's trying something and she's making steps towards, wait a minute, that wasn't that hard. That was way less difficult than what I thought it was going to be. And I'm just over here reinforcing the fact that, yeah, this is what I'm asking. You're doing it. You're doing a good job. You are on the right track. And it's getting, you just notice in that span of just like a minute and a half, she just went from going, wait a minute, I don't know if I even want to touch these, to touching them, to now she's actually jumping. No, it's not graceful, but she is actually jumping over these barrels and going, wait a minute, that doesn't take quite as much effort as I thought it would. So maybe path of least resistance is not to bump them or run into them, but maybe I can just go over them. And then she gets a release, and that rewards her thought process and her try. And she can do it from the stand. She can do it movement with, momentum leading up to it. But it's just, this is just beautiful. And that literally in real time was only maybe the space of about 5 minutes, which is just crazy to me because, again, kind of talking like what we talked about last week, is you can move as fast or as slow as you want to, and the Lord is going to be a partner in that with you. He's not going to push you faster than you need to, but sometimes we hold ourselves back from moving as quickly as we are actually capable of, and it just takes someone coming alongside and being like, you can do more. You can do more. You are more capable of doing that and doing it quickly and effectively than what you think right now. And that little bit of push, encouraging to rise to the occasion like we talked about, that's what this looks like. And this is a perfect example of that. And you're going to see by the end of this video, it's kind of impressive just how much change she's willing to go through and how quickly. Again, she's gaining momentum and recognizing I put her in a situation where it's a little bit weird, unfamiliar, doesn't make sense, even scary, but I'm not doing it because I'm going to hurt her or abandon her. I'm doing it because there's a purpose behind it. And even if she doesn't understand it, there's a reason, and she is more than capable of overcoming whatever obstacle I put in front of her as long as I'm by her side. Sounds like something the way the Lord works with us, right? Now, what's important, and you'll notice this is basically the same perspective, but it's the different direction. Now, for horses, and you may remember this from season 1, you might not, but it is critical for them to do the same activity from both sides of their brain because they don't naturally cross over. So anytime you approach from one side, you do the exact same thing from the other because there's a completely different image in their brain when they face it from the left than when they face it from the right. And so right here, you can see it was a lot more effortless coming the other direction. This one, she's way more convinced she is not capable of doing it. She just did. She just did how many times? 5, 6, 7 times without any real issue coming the other direction. But this one is taking significantly more processing power. You can see she's just putting up a little bit more of a response, but she did it. She just stepped over it. And now there's lots of processing. She's thinking, she's twitching her tail, she's licking her lips. There's a lot of digesting happening of what she just went through. And that was quite the ordeal. It was a split-second thing, but it was quite the ordeal. And that means that she's going to need to process those emotions. And I'm okay with that. I'm going to give her a little bit of time, but we're going to reapproach. I'm not going to let her stay stuck like we talked about last episode. I'm going to encourage her to be like, no. You are capable of doing the same thing from this angle as the other angle. Just like you were capable of doing it when you didn't think you could from the very get-go, you are capable of doing the exact same motion going this direction as the other. The easiest way to relate it to humans is a lot of us are either right or left hand dominant. And when you ask someone to draw with their other hand, when they're non-dominant hand, it comes out looking messy. They can do it, but it's really messy. For a horse, they are capable of doing everything from both directions a lot less. It's a lot more effortless than, one hand for us than the other. But that's a good example of we have a default setting and it's more comfortable to be in whichever our dominant hand is, for operating a pencil, for operating our phones, whatever. Horses are the exact same way, and it's easy for them to fall into the pattern or belief system that they are incapable of doing something from the other direction with the same amount of energy, effort, ease, whatever. So I make sure whenever I'm working with a horse, I do the same thing. We call it winding up the same way as we unwind. So you do it one way and then you unwind them and you go the other way so that they're constantly evenly balanced. And the Lord works with our hearts that way. Anytime that we approach something, it might feel or look the exact same as it did in every other way. But that day, with all of the combination of circumstances that are happening, it can be completely and utterly overwhelming. And he goes, but no, you are capable of doing this. And again, that little nudge helps us to overcome going a different direction. And even if it's the exact same thing we've been doing and it's basically a habit, it doesn't matter because he honors our try and he's willing to deal with the emotion and the mess of it no matter what. He's not going to abandon us. And so it was formally for her, right? Going back to Josie, she thought this was a completely impassable obstacle. I didn't show you that for just sake of time, but she was very much convinced that those barrels were just there to block her. And I'm there telling her, nope, they're not. And she has to choose to believe that actually what I'm saying is true. And now she's starting to recognize, okay, it's true, but this might take, I don't know, the exchange on this. I don't know if it's actually worth putting the energy in for it. And I'm still sitting there going, it's worth it. Just trust me. And she's still, having to process through what that looks like. There's a lot of pressure and emotion, but she's more than capable of it. So again, just lots of practice and practice. You get to reinforce healthy or unhealthy behavior. So my goal as a trainer and in this moment as her leader is to help reinforce healthy moments. So I am actively trying to catch those micro set moments of her trying correctly and rewarding that, and not acknowledging or rewarding or giving power to the negative or contrary emotions, seconds, whatever you want to call it. And so right here, you can see she decided, oh my gosh, that was way too much energy the last time. I went over it, but that was really scary and I need to debrief. And it took convincing, but I was able to be, just a constant. And she decided, wait a minute, I think I'm going to try pushing through this. And she did. And then she had to pause and she had to process. And you can see right here, I'm just rubbing her down. I'm rewarding her because that took so much more effort than it did the other direction. I want to give her more time to process that side. She didn't need it for the other direction. And now we're going to try again. And so it's just that simple. The Lord is so faithful to meet us where we're at, and He's going to honor our tries wherever we are able to do it, but He's not going to let us stay in that moment longer than what's appropriate, because you do it too long and you're going to get stuck. And you can see when I sent her back off, she wasn't convinced that she actually wanted to go try this thing again. She thought she was doing, that was good enough. And I knew that she was capable of more. So you can see this is just a lot of emotion. She's licking and chewing. She's thinking about whether or not she wants to come in, because I had to, be big and bad and scary and hold a boundary and encourage her in, yes, she's capable of doing this thing. And that can be really scary when you think that a leader is pushing you in to do something that's, not going to benefit you. And then it actually did, but you aren't sure if they actually care for you. It's one of those moments of, wait a minute, can I trust you? I don't know. You might make me do something uncomfortable again, which I'm going to, but it's convincing her to be like, no, I'm the same person. I have not changed. My expectation towards you have not changed. My desire and love for you has not changed. All of that is the same. So rubbing her down, just encouraging her. Parallel here is often God asks us to step into something we've never done before, repeatedly. I talked about it in our job too. Just day to day, you're going to come across things, the house, something breaks in the car, something breaks in the house, something happens with a relationship, something happens with a friendship. It's constant. There's never going to be a moment or a day that goes by without you facing something that you've never faced quite that way before, with that cocktail of different emotions or circumstances or things building up to that moment. So it's not because we're already equipped. It's because He will equip us in the process that we get to step into that. He's inviting you to face something, not because He wants you to do something that's going to scare you. That's not what a good father does. But we live in a fallen world where there are constantly things that are not fair, that are not just, that are not right. And He invites us to trust Him in those, despite what's happening, not because He orchestrated it for us to fail, but he is there helping us through to be able to win and succeed, because He already paid the price for us to be winners, if you will. I don't love that term, but to be able to succeed in this life and to thrive, not just survive in this life. Sometimes it's easy to confuse peace with comfort, but true peace is confidence in His presence, not in the predictability of circumstances. So you can see here, again, this is more of the same. Josie is deciding whether or not we're going the direction that's easy, right? Whether or not she wants to face this. Now it looks a little bit different. I changed it up on her and she's going, wait a minute here. That's not what it looked like a minute ago. That's not, I don't know if I can face this. This is totally different obstacle. And I'm sitting there going, nope, same thing. Same obstacle, same barrels, same everything. It just is built a little bit different, but it's the same ask. And she is still very much capable of doing it with excellence. And so it's just encouragement to help her recognize that she is able to do this again. And so this is basically the entire episode is just going over the same things, both directions, multiple times, sticking with her in the process, not abandoning her in the middle of it, and encouraging her to be like, nope, you are capable of this. Nope, you are capable of this. Nope, you are capable of this. You are more than capable of this. And look, she decided to go the other direction and she just pushed through it, right? Because she figured out that was the path of least resistance from that side. That took less energy for her. And I'm fine with that because I want her to recognize that she is capable of doing that. Again, I'm going to be a broken record. I say that a lot, but I'm going to be a broken record in this episode because she is more than capable of doing this. And I want her to know that. Now, there's several moments, obviously, all throughout Scripture, God talks about this, but it's the idea of, if you look at in 2 Corinthians 12:9, he talks about my grace is sufficient for you. You dig into that. That alone is an episode by itself. Or Ephesians 3:20, now to him who is able to do immeasurably more in your life, right? And again, that's an entire different episode as well. There are so many different areas that the Lord, he is more than sufficient. He is more capable than we will ever be able to understand on this side of eternity, maybe even the other side of eternity, but he wants you to succeed, and he is not going to just leave you in the middle of something, floundering, trying to understand what you're capable of when he's sitting there going, I have those answers for you. If you rely on me, I will walk you step by step through this. So we are not being asked to perform, we're being asked to respond. I think I said this in season 1 at some point, but we're human beings, not human doings. He invites us to be alongside him, and then he invites us from that point to watch what he's going to make straight, the paths that he's going to make straight, the way that he's going to guide and navigate alongside us through all of these things that are not from him, that are not orchestrated by him, but things that are meant to separate us from him throughout this life. He wants to do that with you so that you can see the fullness of what he has in store. The image that he's been preparing you for all along, the calling he's been preparing you for all along, all of the barrels, the blue barrels he's been inviting you to jump, and all the trailers he's been inviting you to get into that don't make any sense in the moment. Those all fit into a picture because he has a plan for you. When I asked Josie to jump, I'm not looking for perfection. I'm inviting her to be my partner, to just trust me in something that feels completely random. Her courage and our courage comes in saying yes, even if we don't know what that yes actually looks like, because we know that he's a good father and she can trust me as a good leader. And I want you to see that. This was the hard direction. And look at that. All of that emotion, all of that effort, all of that protest built into responses that scared her more than I was concerned about her being incapable of doing it. And she just did it effortlessly. Now you can see right here, that's a huge debrief. She's like, whoa, oh my gosh. Oh, that's all you were asking for? And I'm sitting there going, yeah, basically. You just did it, and you chose to do it on the difficult side. And she stepped all the way through that process and made it look easy. Was it pretty as like a professional, jumping horse that's trained and spent years being dedicated to relationship with a jumping, a rider? No. This is the first time that she's ever even attempted to jump over a barrel before. It's not going to look perfect, but it was the emotion behind it. She was willing to just do it. And when she actually gave into the idea of, wait a minute, I can do this, that's the result. And here you can see this is her coming from the other direction. And it just, no, it doesn't look pretty. Did she do it? Yeah, she did it. And I couldn't be prouder. Because the whole point of this exercise is not for her to do it perfectly. It's for her to trust me in it and just even try. Now, I have a level, obviously, that I was holding her to because I knew what she was capable of, but I'm not going to push her to the point where she's trying to jump and clear massive fences or, raise, put up, professional standards from a show jumping arena. No, I don't expect her to ever become a show jumper. It's not about that. It's about the relationship. And is a perfect example of the way that we work with the Lord is, he gave us free will. In this example, liberty means no ropes, no ties. It's just an invitation to face relationship head on. And that's what she's doing. She's not forced. She's not coerced. She's not held against her will. She can have as much of an adverse opinion as she wants to in these moments. But the point is, when she is willing to compromise her own opinion on something and step into relationship with me, she is ultimately freer than she was when she was able, or when she thought that she was only capable of her own opinion and that her opinion was higher than mine. The image is not control, it's connection. And it's the whole idea of what we were talking about last week as well as this week. When she realizes she can do something, and I was right in encouraging her to do that, there's this massive release, and we did it together. She didn't have to do it by herself. She didn't have to feel like she was completely alone in this processing. We did it together as a team, as a partnership, and it's rewarding for both of us. And I succeed as a leader by watching her overcome something like this obstacle. And there she is. She did it. You can see, like that, again, it was just more of that repetition, more of that processing, more of letting her have moments where she needed to breathe a little bit and then trying again. And that doesn't even look like the same horse as we started with. In this episode, it would have been only a couple, maybe an hour, 45 minutes, something like that. And we went from her not even wanting to be near the barrels to now she's jumping it and making it look, a lot more effortless than any of us humans could do. And so all that being said is just, it's a result of that partnership piece. And I just want you to see right here, there's a massive release of, she gets to step into that relationship and she's breathing. If you look at her body language, she's curious. She's not shut down. She's processing right there. Her back leg was kind of cocked. She was very relaxed. She's realized, oh my gosh, all of that led to this moment right here. And she would trade. Knowing horses, their relationship and non-demand time is so much more important to them than anything else. She would trade everything that we just did for that moment right there. But we got to that moment because she was willing to trust me and partner with me to face an obstacle she'd never seen before. So basically, in your life, your quote unquote barrels might look really intimidating to you now, but he jumps with you. He is not going to leave you in the middle of it, but at the same time, if he is calling you to do it, he's already gone before you. He's already prepared a way. He's already got you all set up for success. All you have to do is trust that he actually is that good, and his provision is waiting for you because he, like last week, sent his word to go there. And that is the safest place you can be, is where his word is. And he is sure to return that back to you. It never returns void. You can take it to the bank. So where are you being asked to believe that God sees something in you, or is inviting you to do something that you don't see or feel worthy of yet? That's your thing to digest this week. But take that small step. Start working towards that. Don't try and do it perfect. Just try and take that try, and he will reward that try, not because you feel ready, but because he's trustworthy. And all of those moments where you doubt it, you have to choose actively to decide whether you're going to trust him or you're going to turn to fear, whether you're going to believe his promises and his word, or you're going to believe your own above his word. That is what this partnership looks like in the relationship with you and the Lord. I cannot wait to know that the Lord someday, maybe it be on the other side of eternity, but that you are willing to face your barrels and you are willing to overcome something, be it as big or little as it looks in your life right now, but you are willing to take that step and start to try and just practice rehearsing over and over and over again that he is with you and he believes if he is calling you into something, he thinks you are capable of it. And if he says so, you are. Thank you so much for joining us for today's episode. I hope you had a good time. Please leave a comment below if you are willing to share what a barrel might look like in your life, and tune in next week for another episode. Thank you for watching. Please consider supporting our ministry, whether by giving or sharing this message with someone who needs it. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss what's next.